Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I used to think my life was normal. Work, gym, home, repeat. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing strange. But everything changed when I noticed him. It started at the grocery store. A tall man in a gray hoodie. He was standing near the frozen foods, but he wasn't looking at the food. He was looking at me. At first, I didn't think much of it. People stare sometimes. Maybe he was zoning out, lost in thought. But when I turned down another aisle, I caught him again. Same position, same stare, eyes locked on me. I told myself it was a coincidence, just some weird guy with no awareness of personal space. But then, a few days later, I saw him again. At the coffee shop, I was waiting for my order when I felt it. That prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like someone was drilling holes into me with their eyes. I turned. There he was, standing by the window, hands in his pockets. Just watching. He never approached, never spoke, just stood there, unblinking. I tried to shake it off. Maybe he just looked similar to the guy at the store. Maybe I was being paranoid. A week passed. Then one night I was heading home on the subway when I saw him again. This time there was no mistaking it. Same gray hoodie, same dead-eyed stare. I moved cars. He followed. I got off 2 stops early. He did too. By the time I reached my apartment, my heart was slamming against my ribs. I fumbled with my keys, throwing panicked glances over my shoulder. But the sidewalk behind me was empty. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I convinced myself I was overreacting. Maybe it was just some creep who got off at the same stop by chance. Then I got home from work, and everything changed. As soon as I stepped into my apartment, a wave of unease rolled over me. Something was wrong. The air felt disturbed, like someone had been there. I checked the windows. The kitchen one was open, just a crack. I knew for a fact I had locked it that morning. My laptop was on the table, but something felt off. I stared at it for a long moment before realizing it had been moved. Not far, just an inch, but I could feel it in my bones. Someone had touched it, and then I saw the mirror. It had smudges, not fingerprints, smudges, as if someone had stood inches away, their breath fogging up the glass. My stomach dropped. I checked every lock, every closet. Nothing. I called my best friend, voice shaking. She tried to calm me down. "It's probably nothing," she said. "Maybe you left the window open and forgot." But I hadn't. That night, I barely slept. Every sound, the creak of the pipes, the wind against the windows, felt like a footstep, like someone was there, watching. And then around 2 a.m., I heard it, a shuffle, right outside my door. I froze. The sound was so soft, almost hesitant. Then the knob jiggled. My blood turned to ice. I wanted to scream, but the air felt trapped in my throat. Then, just when I thought my heart was going to burst, a whisper came through the keyhole. "I know you're awake." My body went rigid. The voice was slow, deliberate, like he was savoring each word. I shot out of bed, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. By the time the cops arrived, my hallway was empty. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints. No proof that anyone had been there at all. But taped to my door was a note. A single eye, drawn in black ink. I moved out a week later. Changed my number. Switched jobs. Did everything I could to disappear. I never saw him again. But every now and then, I wake up gasping, feeling a weight in the room, like someone is standing over me, watching, never blinking. Story 2. I never knew who lived below me. Apartment 3B had been vacant for months, or so I thought. The building was old, the kind of place where the walls sighed at night, and the pipes whispered when the wind blew just right. My landlord, Mr. Fletcher, was an elderly man who smelled like burnt coffee and always wore the same brown sweater, no matter the season. He once told me the building had history. Some places got memories, he'd muttered. This one? It remembers. I didn't ask what he meant. Maybe I should have. It started small, strange little noises. A scratch, scratch, scratch in the dead of night, just beneath my floorboards. Then faint tapping, light, rhythmic, like a single fingernail clicking against the ceiling below. It wasn't constant, but it was always late, always when I was trying to sleep. At first, I thought it was mice, but the tapping was too deliberate, too patient, like someone was waiting. One night, my phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. Why are you awake? I sat up in bed, my heart punching against my ribs. The room was dark except for the dim glow of my phone screen. I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. A wrong number. It had to be. I didn't reply. Then another message came. I can hear you breathing. I swear the temperature in my room dropped 10 degrees. A thick, sticky fear settled in my stomach. My apartment was locked. The windows too. No one could see me, right? I scrambled out of bed, checked every lock, then spent the rest of the night sitting up with the lights on. By sunrise, I convinced myself it was some sick prank. A neighbor messing around. Maybe a scam. The next morning, I went downstairs to talk to Mr. Fletcher. He looked up from his crossword puzzle, blinking like I'd just woken him from a nap. 3B, he repeated. No one's rented that place in months. I felt a sharp chill crawl up my spine. You sure? I asked. He scratched his head, frowning. Last guy left in the middle of the night. Didn't even take his deposit back. Just up and vanished. I swallowed hard. Did he say why? Mr. Fletcher shook his head, then muttered something under his breath. I leaned in, barely catching the words. He said the walls whispered. That night, I put my phone on silent and ignored any messages. Whatever was happening, I wasn't going to feed into it. But around 2 a.m., something woke me. Not a text, not tapping. A creak directly below me. It wasn't just any creak. It was my exact footsteps from earlier that day. Step for step, like someone was retracing my movements. Slowly, deliberately, my breath caught in my throat. Then the laugh. Soft, breathless, right beneath me. I grabbed the kitchen knife and pressed my ear to the floor. Silence. Then a whisper. I only wanted to be closer. I bolted upright, heart hammering. Dialed 911 with shaking fingers. The cops arrived within minutes. I barely managed to explain what had happened as they forced the door to 3B open. The apartment was empty. No furniture, no lights, no signs of life, except for one thing, a mattress. laid out directly below where my bed was upstairs. And on the wall, scrawled in smeared ink. I only wanted to be closer. I moved out the next day. Didn't even pack properly. Just threw some clothes in a bag and left. I never found out who had been living down there, or how long they'd been listening. Story 3. It started small, almost too small to notice. A book out of place. A spoon I didn't remember using sitting in the sink. A feeling, a vague sense of being watched that I pushed away, like a bad dream dissolving in the morning light. I lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment, a modest place, the kind of space that feels safe until it doesn't. The first note appeared under my pillow. I love watching you sleep. I found it just as I was making my bed one morning. A tiny scrap of lined paper, the handwriting small and careful. My heart did a slow, uneasy turn in my chest. I stared at it, reading the words over and over, as if they might change. I convinced myself it was a joke, maybe a friend sneaking in to mess with me. My best friend, Kyle, had a weird sense of humor. Maybe he got a spare key somehow. Maybe this was his way of screwing with me. I laughed, but it came out thin and forced. The second note killed that theory. I found it in my fridge, tucked next to the milk. You always grab the milk first. My blood turned cold. This wasn't Kyle. This wasn't funny. Someone had been inside my apartment. I checked my locks, double-checked them. I even replaced them, just in case. I started sleeping with my bedroom door locked. And yet, the notes kept coming. One in my closet. You have such nice clothes. Another under my bathroom sink. Your shampoo smells amazing. I stopped sleeping properly. Every creak in the night sent my heart hammering. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening. I bought cameras, a cheap set from Amazon. Set them up in my living room, my kitchen, my bedroom. Every morning, I checked the footage, heart pounding. Nothing. The notes continued. You looked so beautiful yesterday. I love how you hum when you cook. Then one night, I snapped. I wrote my own note in big, shaking letters. Who are you? I left it on the kitchen counter and went to bed, though I barely slept. In the morning, there was an answer. A single piece of paper, folded neatly, placed on my bedside table. You've seen me before. You just don't remember. That was the moment I lost it. I packed a bag, left my apartment, and never looked back. I didn't care about breaking my lease. I didn't care about the deposit. I just needed to get the hell out. I moved, changed my number, stopped checking my mail. For a while it worked, but sometimes I wake up in cold sweats, gasping for air. The feeling is still there, that creeping, suffocating sense that someone is watching. Because deep down I know the truth. I didn't escape. I never did.